From the Times Center in New York City, City University Television, in association with the New York Times, presents a TimesTalks series with editors and writers of the New York Times. Today's presentation, a conversation with Mark Ruffalo.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are delighted to have on our stage one of today's most sought-after actors in film and theater. You know him, of course, from his Academy Award-nominated performance as Paul in The Kids Are All Right, for which he also received the Best Supporting Actor Award from the New York Film Critics Circle. A few of his many memorable films include such favorites as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, my favorite, You Can Count on Me, and Shutter Island. His latest film, which also marks his directorial debut, is called Sympathy for Delicious, which won the Special Jury Prize for Dramatic Film at the Sundance Film Festival. The film, which has been called an edgy rock and roll spiritual journey, tells the story of a Los Angeles DJ who finds that he has the power to heal. Sympathy for Delicious also stars Orlando Bloom, Laura Linney, and Juliette Lewis, and it opens here in New York next Friday night, April 29th. You'll hear much more from our guest and about his career and his film from our moderator. She's best known as the Carpetbagger, your nytimes.com guide on the red carpet to the news and nonsense of the film festival and the awards season. In the Carpetbagger blog on nytimes.com, she and her colleagues take a look at film and the people who make and star in them, business trends in the film industry, technical breakthroughs, and interesting moves by moguls. She also writes frequently about music, as she did recently with the band TV on the Radio. And last week, you may remember the article she wrote about Tina Fey and her new book, Bossy Pants. Before she became known as the Bagger, she chronicled cultural life in New York for the Urban Eye video series on nytimes.com. So please join me in welcoming Milena Rysick and our very special guest, Mark Ruffalo.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. We're so glad that you guys could all be here today. And Mark,
you came for Emmylou Harris today, didn't you?
He's been practicing that joke backstage. Mark and I got to know each other a little bit during Oscar season this year when you were nominated. And I wanted to start tonight by talking about something that happened on the Oscar red carpet. I don't know if you remember. It's such a blur, isn't it, when you're on that carpet?
What carpet?
Yeah. Well, so we were at the Kodak Theater, and you came up to talk to me very kindly, and you said that you had gone to school nearby, right by the Kodak, a couple blocks away, right? Mm-hmm. The Stella Adler Academy. And you seemed genuinely surprised that you had made it the 6 blocks or whatever to the Kodak at that moment.
That was a long 6 blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I went to LA and in '86, and it was a very different place than it was now, and Hollywood in particular. It was pretty much it was either crack or prostitutes on Hollywood Boulevard. And I was going to school there, and I never imagined myself having a big career. I was sort of very shy and hiding out there in a lot of ways.
So what did you think was going to happen? Did you think, oh, I'll study and I'll learn the craft and I'll have a career in theater? Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah. I thought I'll study and I love doing this, but I didn't have a lot of confidence about it. And I hoped that I'd have a theater career. And I stayed in that school for almost 7 years.
Yeah, I'm just working on my craft now.
You know, the whole business thing, that's such BS, man. And I was doing that for a long time. And you know, I was doing the plays. And I was really working out a craft for myself. I didn't have a lot of confidence, so I thought I would rely on a craft instead of confidence.
Isn't that part of what Stella Adler or other acting schools should teach? Shouldn't you graduate there with a sense of, I mean, actors a lot of times are just built on confidence.
Yeah.
If they don't have craft, I guess.
Yeah.
At some point,
that seems to work out pretty well for them too, though. Yeah. At some point, it was a great school, and it did engender in you. You really had to know what you were doing, and it was a serious place, and the acting was held in the highest regard there. So it wasn't just something that you decided one day you were going to do. You know, she would scream at you, "You must be better than you are, darlings. You're nothing. You come in here, you're broken. You're nothings. And you have to lift yourselves up and make yourselves better and work on your voice and your body and your minds." You know, it was.
I feel intimidated right now.
And then you had to get up and act in front of that.
It's great preparation for every terrible director that you have to deal with later.
Yes,
right?
It made every other director look like a pansy after that.
So at some point, were you able to fuse having that craft and confidence, or do you still feel like you are going back to those lessons that you learned?
I feel like I developed a way of working for myself that I could at least fool everybody. And, you know, it's an evolving kind of thing. But it's built on top of those years of training there.
Did you think that you might direct while you were there?
Maybe. I hope that I would direct. You know, I had a teacher there, Joanne Linville, who was a great actress herself, and actually a really wonderful teacher. And she was my primary teacher there. And she would say to us, "It's important for you while you're sitting out there to be working. And you'll get just as much out of this class by sitting in those chairs and working while the actors are on stage. You know, working, how would I do that? What's not working about the scene? What is working? You know, and for probably the first 6 months, that's exactly what I did. I sat out there, and she finally had to yell at me to get up and do an exercise. But during that time, I really started to see the mechanics of acting and actually, you know, acting on a stage in a space under a proscenium. And I think I really started to look at acting from the beginning from a directorial point of view. I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But I would sit there and I'd think, well, you know, he's in love with her, obviously, and he's seducing her in the scene, or, you know, I was seeing how I thought the scene should play out and what felt natural to me. So I didn't realize it, but I actually was working towards directing during that time, and then eventually I directed a few of the plays that we were doing, and I really did love it. I loved working with the actors and developing, you know, the physical life of a piece on stage. And
well, Sympathy for Delicious is your directorial debut, so I want to talk about it. But it's taken a long time to get to the screen. Maybe you can start by sort of explaining how it came together, and telling us the story about the movie.
Well, it's a movie that I made with one of my best friends, a guy named Christopher Thornton, who we started acting school together. And we were in a class of Benicio del Toro and Selma Hayek and myself, and he was a standout of that class. He was a very gifted young actor. And about 6 years in, we did plays together, and about 6 years into our schooling, he had a climbing accident and he broke his spine. And he ended up as a paraplegic in a wheelchair. He was going to quit acting and go home. And myself and a couple other friends, we went to school with Timothy McNeil and another gentleman, Milton Justice, grabbed him out of his physical rehab, the state-run hellhole, and pulled him out and said, "We're going to do a play. We're doing Waiting for Godot." And he said, "No, I'm not. I'm not an actor anymore." And we said, "That's fine. We're just going to rehearse it. We're not going to actually put it up. We'll just rehearse it and we'll see how it goes."
You tricked him?
And we totally tricked him. And which is a big part of all of my work. and getting my wife to marry me. And so we eventually put that up, and ended up living together and developed a real strong working relationship. And one day, 5 years into his accident, he decided he was going to start writing, because he knew that all the great parts for a guy in a wheelchair were going to go to a guy who walks to his limo at the end of the day after they call rap. And so he started pitching me ideas for scripts. And it was around the 5th anniversary of his fall, which we would commemorate by having lunch together. And it was a particularly hard time for him. I'd seen him go to faith healers to try and get a healing. And he was saying to me, I can't live with this. I just don't think I can do it. And I can't integrate this into my life. And I said something to him like, well, you might want to hit me in the crotch for this, but maybe there's a gift in this for you. Maybe out of this tragedy, something good has happened, because I knew you before and I know you now, and who you are now is just so much bigger and stronger and inspiring. And then he said something like, well, you can be the saint in the chair and I'll be the asshole walking around. And then he punched me in the crotch. But it was out of that conversation that then that same day he pitched me this idea of a guy in a wheelchair who gets the gift to heal, but he can't heal himself. And I said, that's a great log line. Write that one. And it was born out of these faith healers that he went to, who were completely over the top, psychic healers, the dudes who reach in and pull out chicken livers, and Benny Hinn, the Vegas act, who busts out in a song and dance with his choir and his band, and
there's a lot of performative aspects to this stuff. I mean,
yes.
It's made for performance.
Yes, it's a big show. And so he set this movie in this faith healing world.
It's set in downtown LA, the downtown LA that maybe you experienced as a student, right?
Yeah, I being a poor student, the downtown LA area was a good place to find home, housing.
When you were saying hookers and crack addicts, you were living among the hookers and crack addicts.
Quite a bit. Going between school and Hollywood Boulevard, it was pretty bad times. It was right at the height of, the introduction of crack cocaine, and I was living in an immigrant neighborhood. It was mostly Mexican families, El Salvadorian families. And I was about, 10 blocks away from a big homeless population. And so I lived on MacArthur Park, which at that time was like a wasteland. You'd go out in the morning and there was bodies laying all a few acres, and trash and bodies, and so I had a real intimate experience with homelessness. And I was also feeding the homeless on the holidays, and so yeah, I really did know that world well. And part of the reason I decided to direct this movie is when I read it, I had so many. I knew the world very intimately, from the homeless aspect, from the rock and roll aspect. I worked at a guitar store, so I knew all these rock and rollers. And then I was an actor, and I was living with Chris Thornton when he was going through this life-changing thing that he was coping with.
Chris Thornton in the movie plays a DJ. I don't know if we said that earlier.
Yeah, he plays a DJ in the movie, a turntablist. wait. Type of turntablist.
I'm going to make you make that sound later.
I'll do that.
To close up the
We'll
interview.
do that again. When things get really boring and you want Emmylou Harris here.
So what was it like to direct, your friend in this incredibly personal story?
It was, we'd been working on the movie for 10 years, developing it, rewriting it, trying to make it smaller so that we could make it cheaper, and so we would improvise scenes. We were acting a lot in it before we even hit the set, and probably the most challenging thing was having the material be new for him. Because when you write the material, you know everything about it. And part of what's exciting about seeing an actor's performance is the discovery part of it, is having that person immerse themselves in this world and have that world seem as new and fresh at every single moment as possible. I think that's really exciting acting.
Right. Some actors don't even like to rehearse that much because they want to retain that freshness, or anyway, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just lazy.
There are a lot of actors who don't like to do that. Not theater actors. We want to rehearse as much as possible. But so getting him to the place where he didn't know. He lost that knowledge of what that character had been through, what he was going through, and that was an interesting struggle.
You're not the saint in the chair, you're the saint walking around, you play a Catholic priest.
Yeah.
Was that always the intention to act in the movie as well?
No. They came to me and they said, listen, you're a first-time director, but you have a little bit of a name as an actor. So if you come into the movie as an actor, you'll cancel yourself out as a first-time director. I was like, that makes sense. And so my trick was to tell them, okay, I'll act in it, get the movie set up, and then step out. And
you really wanted to trick everybody involved in the movie.
I'm telling you, that's how you get things made in Hollywood. And so I was going to step out. That was my hopes, and then I'd find a better actor to do it, who wasn't trying to direct at the same time. And the day I went to do that, it started to come out of my mouth, and the producer said, just stop right there. It's like, what? What do you mean? She said, we lost 2 of our name actors today because of these schedule changes. We had a schedule change. And you're the only actor that we have left in the movie that the financiers will stick around for. So not only can you not quit, but you have to go out and find 2 new actors. Otherwise, this movie's falling apart. And that was pretty much the end of my dream of just being a director. it was a very sobering day.
When you've got a project that's so long gestating like this, and you've got other things going on in your career, you know, it's proceeding, other things are happening in your life, how do you have the energy to keep coming back to a project like this?
Honestly, I think I tried to step down from this movie 3 or 4 times. As the years were going by and I couldn't get any traction with it, I had suggested to Chris that we find another director with more of a name to help get it put together, and he just wouldn't have it. And similarly, people would say, well, if you put a hot young actor in the wheelchair part, then we got a movie. And I just that wasn't interesting to me. Honestly, it was I think our friendship and our love for each other that just kept the thing going when everyone else was telling us to put it down. It was inertia. It was an enormous amount of time and energy that went into it. That at some point we were so deep in it that to just concede to failure would have been too crushing a blow for either of our fragile egos. That we just persisted.
What did you learn? What did you feel like you found out? Hey, I am a director.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Are there any children
That's
here?
really what I said. It was terrifying. It was a terrifying. We've been putting all this energy into getting the money and getting the cast and getting the movie, and then finally, when that moment came, I was just went, "Oh my God, I have to direct this now. I don't know what I'm doing." Wow, I'm not prepared. I really did start to have a panic attack. But then, when I was there, my first day on set, I just kept pretending like I knew what I was doing. And my first day on set, I was in a ball in my trailer. And I was going, oh my God, what am I doing? All those people are out there. And it's, boss, we're ready for you, boss. Oh no, they're coming for me. And I just, I said, okay, buddy, you came this far. What you're going to do is you're going to walk out that door and you're going to good morning your way to set. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Which gives you an air of confidence.
Uh-huh.
And I good morning my way to set. And there was a monitor and there are the actors and background, everyone's there. And I walked on and I said, okay, let's okay, this looks good, let's shoot it. And I called action, and pretty quickly, the 18 years that I've spent on some pretty remarkable sets with some pretty remarkable directors, kind of through total synthesis, had proven their worth, and I felt immediately comfortable.
So in those moments, you're not necessarily flashing back to working with, Scorsese or Kenneth Lonergan. You're just trying to, how does it look in the monitor?
Yes.
Can I push through the shot? Can I make my day?
Yes. There's the one luxury of a 23-day shoot is you don't have time to think. And because you don't have time to think, you have 2 choices. You can either freeze and get nothing done, or you just throw yourself into the void, and you hope that something's going to catch you. and so I took the latter of the 2, and was it the former? I took the one where you throw yourself into the void, and that was actually it was a good thing because there's such an enormous amount of energy in so contained a space of time that it actually works out really well for a little project like this.
It's the beauty of indie filmmaking. It's the danger and the beauty of it, right?
I agree.
Yeah. In this movie, you also got to work with Laura Linney, who you've had a long history with. Started with her, and You Can Count on Me. But was that something that was she somebody that came in and saved your ass, basically? Yeah.
I fell out of the frying pan and went right to heaven. I lost an actress a couple weeks before we were going to shoot. And, I had thought about Laura for it, but I was waiting for the right part to go to Laura with later in my directing career. And so I called her and I asked, I said, Laura, I have a part in my movie and I'd like you to read it. I think you'd be amazing at it. It's something we've never seen you do. And she says, I'll do it, Ruffy.
She calls you, do a lot of people call you Ruffy or just Laura?
Just Laura. Just Laura. And I said, well, don't you want to read it? She said, no. If you're doing it, I'd love to do it. And it was a real act of grace on her part. And she was my angel throughout the whole movie. She was really a solid place for me, a lot of support. At one point, she pulled me aside and she said, Ruffy, do you know what you're doing? Is it obvious? No. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, do you know what you're doing with the part you're playing? And I said, Laura, I haven't had time to work on the acting part of this movie. She said, yeah, I thought so. Why don't you come over this weekend and we'll run through your scenes? And I said, thank you. And so that was a huge gift. It was like a master class with a master actress. And so she really saved my fanny in more ways than one.
When you guys first worked together on You Can Count on Me, right? Did
Yep.
you know each other before from theater?
No. That was a very grueling auditioning process for me. And very early on, my dear friend Kenny Lonergan said, I really like you, Mark, but you're not right for this part. You don't look anything like Laura Linney. You can't be brother and sister. Sorry, buddy. And I said, well, can I please come on and audition for it? And he let me come in, and afterwards he's like, that was really good. You're really good. That was really good. And so they set up a big reading that Laura and I would have to do together to prove to all the investors that we could actually be brother and sister. And I walked in, and they were sitting at a table, and I said hello. And as soon as I said hello to her, I just, this part is mine. There was just an immediate, just one of those people that you immediately have a connection to. And we just have remained friends ever since. She's just been a dear friend of mine.
Is it fair to say that your life changed after that movie?
It would be fair to say that. I was really struggling for a long time there. I mean, most actors do. And by that time I was 27, and I was starting to think, okay, we've given this a good shot, but maybe we should start thinking about a plan B
Did you have a fallback career?
No. Directing. No, but I thought that maybe I would write and direct, maybe. I didn't know what I would do, really. But I was really starting to lose a little bit of hope at that point. Because I was bartending, I was going on auditions, I was coming close to things, I really wasn't booking much. I was doing plays and I was getting recognition in the theater, but I just couldn't, I was having a really hard time breaking through to movies and television.
Do you have horrible commercial audition stories? Is there some soap commercial or something that you were in?
I had hundreds of commercial auditions. Back then, you would go on 3 or 4 commercial auditions a week, and okay, you're driving in your car. You're driving your car. You're going fast. Okay, going fast. You're driving your car. You're going fast. You see a deer. Oh, and they're like yelling out direction at you, and I was terrible at it, and it was over the top, like you could just see. It was humiliating, and and everywhere you went, there was really, really good-looking guys, and with big muscles and white teeth, really white teeth, and I just wasn't the guy they were looking for most of the time.
So that's when You Can Count on Me came into your life?
I'd met Kenny, actually before that, it was a one-act play that I met Kenny at. I met him on in Los Angeles called Betrayed by Everyone. And what it was a one-act version of a larger play that was called This Is Our Youth, which I did off-Broadway here. And that was really what changed my life. It was a big off-Broadway success. The big agencies came knocking. I went back to LA and they're like, "Where did you come from? We love you." Yeah, I've been under your nose for the past 7 years, 13 years. And then, after that, I started to get little work, and this came along. You Can Count on Me.
And then what happened in the immediate aftermath? Because it was a critical hit, it was a Sundance hit. I mean, did you immediately have a sense that, bigger directors, producers were calling? Did you feel like, I'm going to jack up my price? I'm going to have a price now? What happened?
All those things happened, and then I got a brain tumor. And that pretty much, that was the end of that little run. And that took me out for a couple years. But yeah, it was a very exciting time. And I was getting offered bigger things. I actually slipped in The Last Castle with Robert Redford and James Gandolfini, and that was a nice little part. And my pay went up, and I could buy a pre-owned vehicle. Certified, which was nice, and I could get my driver's license out of hock. Yeah, it was a big change.
You had stopped bartending too by this
and
point.
I quit bartending.
Were you a good bartender?
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite thing to do. I made a mean margarita. They called it the Margarita. and I had a Thursday night little crowd, a little margarita scene, which was cool, which I was a star of. I got the job done. I was an okay bartender.
So did you mind talking about the period when you had the brain tumor?
No.
It's something that came to you in a dream, is that right? That you had this?
Okay, we're not talking about this anymore.
Really?
No. That makes me very uncomfortable.
Well, How did you feel? I mean, you were at the height of your success, that you had experienced as an actor,
yeah.
right? And
I was angry.
yeah.
I was sad. I was, it included the left side of my face becoming paralyzed after the surgery. And so that I thought that was pretty much it for my acting career, actually. And I started to polish off my director's shoes again. I didn't know what I was going to do, because they didn't know if it was going to come back, or no one seemed to know. It was a great mystery, and it just seemed like what my friends call getting Ruffaloed, which is a piece of good luck disguised as bad luck. And but we didn't know that it was good luck at the moment. And so I was very, it was a terrifying time for me and my family, my wife, Sunny. Everything that I geared my whole life up towards and was, in reach, seemed to be completely taken away briefly.
And the good luck came when you were healed.
Yeah.
And you were able to return to something in a changed way.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes you get handed a bag of poop, and in time that can actually turn into a positive thing by the growth that you go through by dealing with it. And I lost a lot of fear at that time. I had what I loved so much and had taken for granted, taken away from me. And so I had a real appreciation for it, and I longed for it. And I knew that I loved it, and that's what I wanted to do. And so when my face slowly started to come back, I was absolutely thrilled. And I thought that marked a change for me. I feel like that's kind of when I became a man, in a way. And changed, in a lot of ways, changes everything. And an actor, you use that stuff. That's gold to an artist, you hope.
Stella Adler would be probably happy for you to mine that material.
Yeah. She was never a big advocate of using yourself that way, but she said you must go out and live. You must experience the world fully, and that was one way of living.
Did you change the way that you viewed the kind of roles that you were going to take? The time that you were going to spend away from your family as you were working after that?
Well, the great misconception is that actors get to choose. I like the roles you choose. You're like, are you kidding me? They're the only things they'll give me. And so there was some things that were coming along that I was just taking everything to try to get back to where I was before. I did find myself making the shift to be a man, to play parts that were men. I didn't want to be this guy on a TV show, 15 years later doing the same part. And so I knew that and made a concerted effort to break free from that.
But a lot of times people describe your characters as kind of boyish.
I thought you were going to give me softballs.
No promises. Really? Is that the bane of your existence to hear that?
No. It's true. What can I say? I'm not going to fight you. You're right. No, I like, I like playful, mercurial characters. I have an affinity for those kinds of parts, and I do them well. But, I've done a few of them along the way. Those are just the ones that everyone remembers the most. But I have tried to branch out from doing just those kinds of parts.
What would you like to play? I mean, do you have dream
If
roles?
you looked at my filmography. What kind of what?
Do you have a dream role that you think people are not considering you for yet that you would like them to?
I like the love story genre, like adult love stories, and I don't mean the ones you watch in hotels. Although I've done plenty of those too, but it's those kind of 70s love stories, that unrequited love, those kind of things. I would like to do something like that.
Do you really have a history in softcore?
If you look at my filmography,
I know you
I
did
started in softcore.
I know you did some
horror
horror
flicks.
films.
Yeah. Yes. If you saw those, you would be like, wow. Bump, bump.
Did you learn anything about acting or performing in movies from softcore horror movies?
Yeah, you learn. I'm of the school that you learn if you're open to it anywhere you're in front of a camera acting. I was like the comic relief of those movies, so I didn't get to do much of the core stuff. But to me, it was just as important as doing All the King's Men. I mean, as doing Zodiac. It was still acting, and it was still a character, and I put everything into those seemingly sort of worthy of my talents.
Did you come on set and find that everyone had prepared as much as you had?
Not really, no. Yes, I couldn't understand why people didn't know their lines on softcore horror flicks. I wasn't surprised. No, I didn't care.
So by the time you got to...
There's no small actors. Only small parts.
Did you watch those movies?
Reverse that. Yes, I did. Late at night, on the road. No, one of them I've seen and one of them I haven't.
Well, let's talk about the movie that
Do we have clips for those?
No. I should have scanned YouTube. That's
yeah. You could. Mirror, Mirror 1, 2, and 3. Raven Dance, The Voyeur. Big DVD
Put
sales.
it on your Netflix. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the movie that people might have seen.
Okay, good.
More recently, Kids Are All Right.
Yeah. No softcore there.
You've talked about this role, and You Can Count on Me as really, they're both standout roles.
Thank you.
In your career, and I think for you personally, right?
Yeah.
Because for You Can Count on Me, you knew Kenny, and for Kids, you sought out Lisa Cholodenko, the director, because you wanted to work with her.
Yeah.
Why did you want to work with her?
I had seen High Art and Laurel Canyon, and I felt that that was a director that really loved actors and was really interested in character and behavior and subtext. And I felt like there was a lot of room in there for actors to behave and be, which is a lot of interior life. And they felt performances felt very spontaneous to me, and the actors seemed to be trusted. And so I thought I really would like to work with that director. It looks like it would be fun.
And was it?
It was a blast. I had a great time, and it was everything that I thought it would be and more.
It was another low-budget movie that took a long time to pull together.
Yeah.
And when you're working in those kind of conditions, is it more tense for you as an actor because you know you don't have the luxury of take after take after take to do your performance, or is that freeing in some way?
I find it freeing in a way. Again, you don't have too much time to think, and so you have to be there, and you have to be there and ready to go when it's time to go. And I find that to be a very good friend to spontaneity. And the longer if you do a scene and you do it 20 or 30 or 40 times, you sort of there's other luxuries about that. There's other things that work really well about doing that as well. But you sometimes wonder, God, was my best work like number 3 or number 4, and now we're on number 40, and the director's just literally erased 1 through 28. They each have they're two totally different styles of filmmaking, and they each have their positive qualities.
But for a movie like that, one thing that you do have to do that you don't have to do for a big blockbuster is promote. And you said, during Oscar season that you had worked, a week or something on the movie.
6 days. I worked 6 days on The Kids Are All Right, and I promoted it for 6 months. Yeah, that's the state of film today. But I do the acting totally for free. It's all the other stuff that they pay me for. In that case, $5,000.
And an Oscar nomination.
And an Oscar nomination. That we bought that. That's kind of the general way it works now.
So you're prepared for that when you make an indie. You know that might happen.
It might happen, and you're happy for it. No one's making independent films to get rich. Certainly not the actors. And so they're usually things that you really care about. And if you're promoting a movie for 6 months, then it's doing okay. And so you're very happy. I'm very happy when that happens.
How does it feel for you as a performer to have to do that kind of constant selling stuff?
Like a prostitute, except you don't get paid. It's so abstract from acting. The whole that whole thing is totally abstract from acting. It's something that's totally different. Even awards is an abstraction from doing it. And I think I've honed my skills. I've had media training.
It's working.
And it's its own profession in a strange way. And it requires a whole nother set of skills. And so it's the salesman part of what we do and what we know we have to do. And it's the part we get paid to do. The acting we do for free. but it's you know, but I have to say at the same time, it's exhilarating. It was a real gift, and it was a gift to see that movie, which I think is an culturally important film, be embraced on such a wide scale and popular scale and significantly commercial scale.
Yeah, and what was it like for you to go to the Oscars? It was your first time going to the Oscars, right?
I'd been for You Can Count on Me.
Right.
I sat in the nosebleed seats, but I was there for that. So this was my second time, and it was thrilling. It was very humbling, actually. You know, the tradition of it has an enormous amount of weight to it, and I was very humbled and very grateful to be sitting there with those other actors and my peers and to be considered at all that was a long way away from those days on that corner on Hollywood Boulevard, you know, trying to scrape together enough money to buy a burrito so I could split it between lunch and dinner.
Yeah, people say that, you know, they always say that kind of stuff on the Oscars red carpet, but I actually believed it from you.
You could believe it. And you could believe all the other stuff, too, that I've said.
I want to talk about one of your next projects that you have coming up, which is a departure for you in the Avengers, playing Bruce Banner. People are excited. Did you take that role because you really wanted to delve into the character of Bruce Banner?
Yeah, I did. I actually grew up on Bill Bixby's The Incredible Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you might remember that. And I loved that show as a kid. That was much watched television for me, and it was competing with the woods and the swamp and things that I really loved a lot. And but I loved watching that show, and so although I never really had imagined myself kind of in a comic book type movie before, it was very appealing to me to play that part. And I'd worked with Robert Downey in Zodiac.